Welcome to the Workamper Show, brought to you by Workamper.com. This podcast helps you discover how to finance your RV travel dreams. Each one of our episodes will introduce you to people who are already living the RV lifestyle or to work camping opportunities all around the U.S. You'll also learn how to hit the road the right way and make the most of every opportunity. Now let's turn over today's show to your host, Greg Gerber.
This week we're going to talk about one of the most revered highways in America, Route 66, and why you should make plans to travel along America's highway from Chicago to Santa Monica, California. Today's episode is sponsored by Workamper News, much more than just a job listing website. When you put the tools of this professional service into action, you'll find out just how easy it can be to turn your work camping dreams into reality. A Workamper membership opens the door to a one-stop shop for all things work camping. Being the original resource for work camping, you'll find the largest number of job listings, be able to connect with a community of work campers, and view resources compiled by experts who've been enjoying the RV lifestyle for many years. If you're serious about leading a successful and enjoyable work camping lifestyle, then membership is for you. Join today at www.workcamper.com. Embark on new adventures today with the support of Workamper News behind you. Today's guest is Jim Hinckley. He's one of America's foremost historians on Route 66 and the creator of Jim Hinckley's America Travel Network. It is a multimedia project dedicated to telling people where to go by celebrating small-town life, vintage Americana, and the joy of road trips across the United States. For decades, Jim has been sharing stories about the Mother Road through his books, videos, website, and popular Coffee with Jim podcast. He's written 23 books, including his new one, Route 66, 100 Years, a centennial anthology that chronicles the past, present, and future of America's most famous highway. His work reaches hundreds of thousands of fans each month across multiple platforms, all united by a love for adventure and the open road. In this conversation, Jim explains how Route 66, which was officially decommissioned as a U.S. highway in 1985, continues to thrive as an international symbol of freedom and exploration. He shares fascinating stories about the road's origin, its many realignments, and the quirky landmarks that have made it a living time capsule of 20th century Americana. You'll also learn how Route 66 inspired travelers around the world from Europe to Japan to fall in love with the great American road trip. To tell us more, please welcome historian Jim Hinckley to the show. Thanks for joining me today, Jim. I really appreciate your time. Has it really been 100 years since people started venturing west on Route 66?
Yeah, next year will be 100 years of this old highway, but the history of the road itself, Route 66, kind of predates that by about 100 years. So it's kind of got a great history right there.
I started down Route 66 when I moved from Wisconsin to Arizona. I did it in two halves. I drove from the Wisconsin or the Illinois portion all the way to Flagstaff on portion one, and then a few years later completed the journey and went from Flagstaff all the way to the coast. I'm glad I did. It seemed to me as though much of the road was disappearing. It appeared to me that the interstates got a lot of highway dollars for maintenance and things like that, but not so much Route 66. What do you think about that?
Yeah, one of the most amazing things, Route 66 has always been in a state of evolution from its inception. The Route 66 of 1930 was not the Route 66 of 1960, and that continues. But one of the most amazing things about Route 66 today is it doesn't exist. It has not been an official U.S. highway since 1985, and yet it's probably more popular than any time in its history. There is an honest-to-God international fan club for this highway, and it's just amazing. Yeah, they hold, well, I was privileged to speak in 2018, just before the apocalypse, at the Second European Festival in Zlin, Czechia, and there was roughly 20,000 people from 10 countries celebrating Route 66, the American story, the great American road trip, American music, American cars. There's Route 66 associations active in Canada, Japan, Germany, the Netherlands, the Czech Republic. There's tour companies that specialize in Route 66 tours based in New Zealand and Australia and Germany and Italy.
That's phenomenal. What do foreign countries have Or why would they have an interest in Route 66?
It's really interesting. Route 66 is not, even though much of Route 66 is literally rooted in our historic past, like the pre-37 alignment of Route 66 in New Mexico is literally laid over the top of the Santa Fe Trail. But Route 66, from its inception, has always had the best press and publicity. So a long time ago, it evolved from just a mere highway into something much more symbolic. And for Europeans, it's the freedom of the open road, the great American road trip, the quintessential American experience, small town America. And one of the fellows I met in Czechia really summed something up that was interesting. He said, growing up behind the Iron Curtain, listening to Radio Free America, the song Route 66, and watching bootleg copies of Easy Rider, he said Route 66 and the Great American Road Trip came to symbolize freedom for his generation like the Statue of Liberty did for a previous generation.
That's interesting. And that makes sense. That was why those other countries would be so interested in what we are doing.
Yeah.
What spurred your interest in Route 66?
That I don't know if that's a topic of conversation or therapy. It's odd, and you can cue the Twilight Zone music at any point in the story, but the short version is almost everything in my life has been tied to Route 66 since about 1959. And yes, I am that old. We made our first trip west in 59. In the summer of 66, we moved from Michigan out here to Arizona. And my pa bought some property. It turned out to be right on the pre-1952 alignment of Route 66 here west of Kingman. I learned to ride a bicycle on that road. We had to haul water, so I learned to drive trucks. My first job was at Ed's Camp, an old tourist place on Route 66. And my early years, my John Wayne years of ranching and whatnot, almost all the old ranches were tied to Route 66. The Crozier Canyon Ranch had back in the teens, 20s, and early 30s, been the 7V Resort, which was on Route 66. So pretty much everything in my life has been tied to this road.
That's neat. Can you explain to people what an alignment is? They're common on Route 66, and I didn't know what they were until I encountered them myself.
The alignments are improvements made to the highway. Initially, like in Illinois, Route 66 shared the same road with State Highway 4 because Illinois had paved State Highway 4 about 1922-23, and by putting US 66 with State Route 4, you already had a paved highway from Chicago to East St. Louis. The problem was that traffic flow kept increasing exponentially and trying to evolve the highway. Another example would be in New Mexico. Before 1937, Route 66 made a huge loop from Santa Rosa, New Mexico, up through Santa Fe and down to Albuquerque. And after 37, they cut that loop out to shorten the road and make it more practical, and shaved over 100 miles off the highway.
I thought that was fascinating. So it's neat to be able to explore all these different alignments, too. It gives you a different perspective of the road.
Yeah, it does. And in places like Missouri, near the Devil's Elbow, there's a real interesting evolutionary segment of Route 66. The Devil's Elbow was it was originally the road through there and over the Big Piney River was part of the Ozark Trails highway system. They built a steel truss bridge over the Big Piney River in 1922-23. And then when Route 66 came in, it was put over that roadway. There again, it was a narrow, twisted road, mountainous road in the Ozarks. And with World War II and construction of Fort Leonard Wood nearby, they needed an improved highway. So they built Hooker's Cut, which was the deepest highway cut in the United States at that time. And they put in a 4-lane segment of Route 66.
Wow.
And so the road was in a constant state of evolution.
When I was driving through it, there's a 13-mile stretch that goes through Kansas, believe it or not.
Yes.
And that road was under construction when I was riding or driving along it. In fact, they were turning it into a real road. Prior to that, there were just strips of concrete cut in grass that the cars followed on. And they were breaking up that concrete and laying down regular pavement. So I actually grabbed a slab of the original concrete from that portion and took it away with me.
That'd be the original road.
That's right.
And if you really want to stretch a point, like the wheel bearing is connected to the muffler, it's Route 66 is also unique because its connection to early roads. Here in northwest Arizona, Route 66 largely follows what was a Native American trade route 1,500 years ago that became the route for Spanish explorers like Padre Garces, and then the Beale Wagon Road, the first federally funded road in the Southwest, and then the railroad, the National Trails Road, and then I-40 that bypassed Route 66.
What parts of the highway do you like the most?
All of it. I have trouble in any town with more than 3 stoplights. And we've had a tendency to sell Route 66 as Norman Rockwell small town America. And as a result, the cities get overlooked a lot, short shift, crime, traffic, real and magnified by media. But like in the LA area, there's some fascinating sections of Route 66. Personally, I like the open spaces. The old pre-52 alignment up through Sitt Greaves Pass going to Oatman. I have personal reasons for liking it. That's where I learned to drive, where I grew up. And it's probably the most beautiful section. I don't think Stevie Wonder or a one-eyed blind man's going to take a bad photo out there. It's absolutely incredible. Missouri Ozarks. I really enjoyed Ozarks a lot. And Route 66 in New Mexico has a very unique, not only the landscapes, but the cultural landscape along Route 66 in New Mexico is unique.
That's right. And it's very scenic everywhere you go. I remember taking lots of pictures on that journey. And I found Oatman to be especially interesting with all the donkeys still wandering around.
Isn't that refreshing to see that not all the asses are in Washington?
Yes, indeed. In fact, one of them grabbed a bag of popcorn that I had purchased while I was in one of the shops and started munching on it while following me and didn't realize it for a while. That was funny. Why does Route 66 still hold tremendous appeal for travelers?
It's the press and publicity. It's an interesting thing. Like I say, it's not our most historic or even most scenic highway. US 6 is a much more interesting highway. You'll find mom and pop places all along these old highways. But US 66, almost from its inception, has had the best press and publicity, and it's been woven into the fabric of our country. You had early starts 1927. The highway was originally US 60, and there was a political firestorm and a compromise, and US 60 became US 66 in November of 26. And in early of 1927, Cyrus Avery and some visionary businessmen put together the US Highway 66 Association with 2 goals: promoting Route 66 tourism and lobbying to have the highway paved from end to end. And their marketing campaigns are the reason that we're having this conversation about a highway that doesn't exist. They started out with, it was a sports promoter that was doing a foot race from Los Angeles to New York, Los Angeles to Chicago, and then on to New York. And the US 66, Highway 66 Association jumped on that as an opportunity to put the spotlight on Route 66. And then the Summer Olympics in Los Angeles in 1932, the Highway Association took out full-page ads that Route 66 was the scenic route to the Olympics. Then you had the Grapes of Wrath, the song that kicks on Route 66. There was a 4-part episode of the I Love Lucy show about their trip to California on Route 66. You had the TV show Route 66, Easy Rider. Mm-hmm. All these different components just made the highway seem like the quintessential American road trip.
The one thing that really impressed me about that is how Route 66 really introduced novelty marketing to Americans. Every one of these small towns had to develop something to entice people to stop in their communities and spends money, whether for the night, for coffee, for gas, service, whatever it was that they needed to do. So they all had these unique signs, the Big Paul Bunyan and the other kind of attractions. What are some of the ones that really stand out to you?
This became a hallmark of highways in general in the 30s, but especially in the 40s and 50s. It became a hallmark, these quirky things to try to get attention and pull. Wall Drug in South Dakota, of course, isn't on Route 66, but that's an example of these quirky places. And again, Route 66 continues to evolve. In Atlanta, Illinois, on Route 66, they started the American Giants Museum with a collection of those giant fiberglass muffler men. A new attraction, and I'm not going to go deep on this one, but if you love juvenile humor, this place is for you. And Louis King capitalizes on juvenile humor. The Uranus Fudge Company and General Store. I'll let you do with that as you will. Some of the great attractions on the road that have survived, like the Jackrabbit Trading Post in Joseph City, Arizona. It opened in the 1940s. It was enshrined in the animated movie Cars, and it has been run by the same family since about 1960.
Wow.
And it is a tangible link. It is almost completely unchanged from what it was 50, 60 years ago.
That's neat. One of the things I enjoyed was stopping to photograph all of those things and all of those cities. And people are still doing it today. It's great to see that people are still on the road and enjoying it as much as they were 100 years ago.
Maybe even more. It is astounding what this road has evolved into. And I have trouble comprehending this because, first of all, for God's sakes, it's a highway. And number two, it's a highway that doesn't exist. And yet, it's always been the road of dreams and the road of eccentrics and colorful characters. But that's taken on a whole different flavor in this era of Route 66 Renaissance. I have met people from Japan that were rollerblading the entire length of Route 66. I have a dinner next week with a group that are driving their Model A Fords all the way from Chicago to Santa Monica. I encountered a French mime that was trying to set a stilt walking record by walking end to end on Route 66. It's just amazing. It's become the only way I can really, one way I can really describe Route 66 is it's not only a linear community, to borrow a phrase from Michael Wallace. It literally is a linear community, but it's also America's longest small town, and it's a time capsule with an overlay of Disneyland.
Yes, that's a good description. Absolutely. You had mentioned several times that the road doesn't exist, and you're right. You can't find it on a map. So if people wanted to drive on Route 66, how can they do it? Are there apps available for people to guide them on a map? Yes.
This is another thing that really illustrates the unique nature of this quirky community, this highway. There's a book called The Easy 66 Guide by a very talented artist, Jerry McClanahan, who lives in Oklahoma. And this is a 1950s throwback. It's a flip ring little book that has hand-drawn maps, notes, and trivia about different places you're seeing, things you're doing. That is probably one of the most popular guidebooks to Route 66. I don't know anybody that doesn't carry one. And then on the flip side of that, that also shows the nature of Route 66 today. You can also use the Route 66 navigation app. And this is a pretty detailed app that'll keep you on the different alignments, show you which parts are truncated, which parts are gravel, dirt, has updated information, event information, pop-ups when you're driving along the road that'll tell you the story of different places. And what makes that even more interesting, besides the fact that it's an app, it was developed by a passionate Route 66 enthusiast who owns a media company based in Bratislava, Slovakia.
And so somebody from outside of the United States built this or created this app and a device that will help people navigate through the system. That's pretty impressive. Yeah. I understand you have started a podcast, Coffee with Jim. What kinds of things do you talk about in that?
I never wanted Jim Hinckley's America to be a Jim show. The whole basis for everything I've done, I started out blue collar, and my wife, that poor woman's up to sainthood this year, put up with me for about 45 years. She encouraged me. I was always told that I could tell stories for hours, even if I'm the only one in the room, and enjoy myself. And a lot of people said I had a gift for telling people where to go. So back in 1990, I started writing, and that evolved into Jim Hinckley's America. And the idea is twofold. Is the foundation is sharing America's story, and number two is inspiring road trips by telling people where to go. And then with that as a foundation, I try to work and help in small towns, big towns, develop that in cultural tourism to develop a sense of community purpose and then economic development. And Coffee with Jim is never a Jim show. I do this live on Sunday mornings, which creates its own series of problems. But it's diverse. I've got coming up this Sunday, the 5th of October, would be Cheryl Eicher, Jet, Terry Ryburn, and Debbie Jo Erickson, the three organizers of the Miles of Possibility Route 66 conference. I've had Jonathan Bullock, Pulitzer Prize winning Chicago reporter that has been doing a series on Route 66. I've had Pat Tuttle, the CVB director in Joplin, John Paget, an internationally acclaimed documentary film producer, Reese Martin with National Trust for Historic Preservation, and all kinds of just diverse people. I want it to be a virtual diner on Sunday morning where people get together, visit, share a few laughs, tell stories, get some ideas, and get some inspiration.
Do you talk only about Route 66, or do you talk about other places to visit too?
No, Route 66 kind of figures front and center on everything I've done. My initial writing was, I've had an obsession with the American auto industry from 1885 through World War II. And most of my initial work was on that. But there was an intersect because of my connection to Route 66. As the highway evolved, people were coming to me more and more for information about Route 66. Plus, there's automotive connection. Lewis Chevrolet, Barney Oldfield, Edsel Ford, all have a connection to Route 66 community. And the two started overlapping. So it's a lot of what I do is Route 66, but I'm not myopic. I'm just fascinated about the great American road trip and the amazing diversity of the American story.
I understand you published a new book this year. Route 66, 100 Years charts the past, present, and future of America's most famous highway. What's the book about? Or what's inside the book?
Yeah, this has really been a good project. First of all, it's a Route 66 Centennial Anthology. And I got to write this with some very dear friends that are very talented and passionate. Cheryl Eicher Jet from Illinois, Joe Sonderman with the Missouri Route 56 Association, Reese Martin, the president of the Oklahoma Association, and Greg Hassman, a journalist for the newspaper in Albuquerque, and Dries Bessel of the Dutch Route 66 Association. The other thing that makes this book unique is, and different, is we started with the prehistory, going back to Andrew Clay, Senator Henry Clay's 1830s American plan to build a national infrastructure, highways, railroads, canals, this kind of thing, and the evolution of this, and how the bicycle was the catalyst and the cornerstone for the U.S. highway system, as well as the American auto industry. And then we chronicled the evolution of Route 66 from highway to icon into its centennial, and we even took a sneak peek at what the future holds for Route 66.
Okay. And when is that book available?
It's available for pre-order now, and it goes out the 1st of November.
So that'd be a great Christmas gift for somebody.
Yes.
What are some of the best resources people can use if they want to plan a trip on like where to stop and places to see along the way? You had mentioned the book Easy 66. Are there any others?
Yeah, the two things I would start with is the Route 66 navigation app. There's a small charge for it, it's pocket change really. I think it's $25. And then the Easy 66 guide by Jerry McClanahan. Those are your two central starting points. And from that, you can reach out to like me, Jim Hinckley's America website, I have lots of information, links, reviews about restaurants, things of that nature. Most of the states have fairly active Route 66 associations. Oklahoma is really, they're leading the pack. When it comes to Route 66, encouraging Route 66 development, Route 66 tourism, these folks are selling everything on the hog, including the squeal. They got this thing figured out. So they put out a great visitor's guide. They're quick to respond and answer questions. So those are the primary resources for putting together a trip.
I know there are a bunch of Route 66 museums along the route. Are there any that really stand out as must-visit places?
Yeah. There's quite a few, actually. There's some tremendous museums on Route 66 or within spitting distance. And by that, half mile, maybe a mile off Route 66. The National Museum of Transportation, is just outside of St. Louis, about 4 blocks off Route 66. That's the largest collection of trains and automobiles in the United States. Route 66 museums, you got 2 in western Oklahoma that are superb within just a few miles of each other. In Clinton, you have the Oklahoma Route 66 Museum. And then in Elk City, you have the National Route 66 Museum that's part of a complex. It's also a farm and ranch museum and a couple other small museums all mixed together. Makes for a great stop. The evolution of Route 66, again, being on display. World's first electric vehicle museum is being developed. It'll be on Route 66 here in Kingman.
Oh, that'd be fun. What are some of the best? What are some of the best resources for people who maybe want to remember the historic highway? Your book would be a good example. Are there any others?
Yeah, I'm still pursuing my childhood goal of becoming a writer when I grow up. And this book is my 23rd. I've written 23 books on Route 66, the American Southwest, and the auto industry. I even went so crazy one time that I wrote the Route 66 Encyclopedia.
Wow.
I documented the history of every single community on Route 66, whether they exist today or not. I profiled key personalities, did a biography on them, and on locations, famous locations, whether they exist or not today, places that were pivotal in the Route 66 evolution history. There's a lot of good books out there right now, but as might be expected with the centennial, there's a lot of fluff out there too. Stuff that's not only fluff, but just inaccurate. So it's best to, if you want to buy some books and learn about Route 66, it's best to talk to some of the Route 66 associations and check out the historic Route 66 Facebook group. That's about 375,000 people from around the world that compare notes, talk about trips, travel planning, books, places to eat, sleep, you name it.
What was the title of that book that you had mentioned where you had created that in-depth review of every community?
The Route 66 Encyclopedia.
Okay.
And then I did a companion book to that, the Illustrated Route 66 Historic Atlas, where I documented transitional sites, military connections, crime and disaster locations, and Hollywood connections.
Okay, very good. How can people connect with you if they would like to ask a question or just to chat?
JimHinckley'sAmerica.com, my email. Jim Hinckley at JimHinckley'sAmerica.com, and it's Hinckley. And my website is Jim Hinckley's America.
Are you active on social media?
Yeah, I've got a Jim Hinckley's America Facebook page with about 9,000 followers, podcast. Between everything I'm doing, the podcast, the YouTube channel, I also have a YouTube channel, and a website and Instagram. Somehow I'm reaching about 300,000 people a month.
That's incredible. That's
what makes it even more incredible is I'm modern Amish. I have no clue how all this stuff works. I just start pushing buttons and gluing stuff together, and I'm always in amazement when it functions.
You're an inspiration. Thank you very much for your time today, Jim. It really inspired me to get back out on that route, especially the portions of it that are still here in Arizona. And I know if people haven't been on Route 66, they've got to do it before it disappears.
Yeah. If you find yourself up in Kingman, give me a holler. And if you do, anybody who's listening is traveling Route 66, I'll throw one more item out. Kingman.tours. It's www.kingman.tours. This is a Kingman Main Street program, and it's a narrated, self-guided historic district tour along Route 66 and downtown Kingman. And its points of interest include historic sites, film and celebrity associated sites, and public art.
Excellent. That's a great resource to consider. Thank you again for your time today. I really appreciate it.
You bet, sir.
After hearing about Jim Hinckley's passion for Route 66, it's easy to understand why the Main Street of America remains one of the most beloved travel experiences in the world. More than just a road, it's a journey through living history where people can still enjoy a collection of small towns, mom-and-pop diners, neon motels, and nostalgic roadside attractions that captured the spirit of a bygone era. Traveling along Route 66 offers something for everyone, such as breathtaking scenery, vibrant culture, and a connection to the pioneering spirit that shaped modern America. Whether you explore the 13-mile stretch through Kansas, wander through Arizona's old mining town of Oatman, or cross Missouri's historic Devil's Elbow Bridge, you'll discover that Route 66 is as much about the people as it is the pavement. Jim encourages travelers to start planning their own experience with resources like the Route 66 navigation app and the EZ66 guide, which is available on Amazon. Jim's own website offers stories, maps, photos, and travel tips designed to help you get the most out of your trip, and you can find it at www.jimhinkleysamerica.com. So before the centennial celebration begins, pack your camera, fill your tank, and get ready to get your kicks on Route 66. Because as Jim likes to say, it's not just a road, it is America's longest small town, and there's no better way to experience its history than behind the wheel of your own great adventure. That's all for this week's show. Now that summer is over, undoubtedly you have made some great travel memories or worked at some wonderful jobs. Why not tell everyone about your experiences as a guest on the Workamper Show podcast? I encourage you to schedule an interview with me at www.workampershow.com. We'd love to hear about your work camping experiences, how you got started in RVing, and what you love and dislike about the RVing lifestyle. Help others explore all the different ways to live this great lifestyle by sharing your story. If you're an employer of a work camper, then we invite you to be on the podcast too. Share all the details of your work camping jobs in a future episode. It only costs a little bit of your time. Schedule an interview with me today by going to www.workampershow.com. You'll find the schedule buttons at the bottom of the homepage. Thanks for listening, and if you like these interviews, please consider leaving a review wherever you download the episodes.